I wanted to talk today about sobriety and what it's meant for me, or what it means to me, and what it might mean for you, and maybe demystify it a little bit, because it was something that scared the hell out of me for quite a long time, and it's turned out to be nothing like what I thought it was going to be. And I think it's worthwhile talking about, right, and painting a picture of, again, what it could mean for you. So it was funny. I was having a conversation with somebody about a month ago, and they're in a situation where they're dealing with some severe mental health issues with a spouse, and coping with it in a very similar way that I did, which was by drinking. And I mean, I had other coping mechanisms as well that were healthy. Most of them were healthy, but drinking was definitely one of them, and drinking too much was how I drank. Anyways, I was talking to him about it, and he knows it's a problem, just as he's probably more willing to admit that it's a problem than I was. But when I was talking to him about it, I said, I'm not going to tell you to stop drinking, right? Only you can make that choice. But what I can tell you, because I've been exactly where you are, is not drinking is probably literally a million times better than drinking. Like, it's unbelievable. And I kind of left it at that, right? Because I'm always willing to talk about it more, but really that pretty much sums it up pretty accurately. So what does that look like for me? So I look at drinking. It's funny. I find that the more time passes, the more I look at my drinking as a huge, a bigger and bigger problem than I used to, right? So, in other words, as my path diverges from where it would have, I look back and I think, oh my God, none of this would have been possible if I continued to drink. So when I drank, I was good enough, fit, fit. I had good dad, good job, and so I packaged all this up into a view of myself where I was good enough because I was better than a lot of people, whatever that means. In my head, I had told myself that I was better than a lot of people, therefore I was good enough for me. I think in my heart, I knew that wasn't true, and that comparing myself to other people was really just a kind of a stupid way to rationalize my behavior, but I really wasn't willing to admit it to myself, so that's what I went with. And since I've stopped drinking, I don't want to say my entire life has changed, but that's probably not far from the truth, right? I know myself better. I just have so much more insight into who I am as a human being, and I'm willing to accept that. And that's taken some time, definitely taken some time, and it's an ongoing process about learning that, the things I used to pretend weren't me, like the fact that I'm much more emotional than I thought I ever was, or, that I actually don't like conflict, and, like I used to pretend I was the alpha male who liked conflict, and therefore I would kind of instigate conflict. So admitting all these things to yourself and learning them about yourself and then admitting them to yourself takes time, man. And as you go through that, though, and you learn about it and you put it into some kind of context and you understand how it can be a useful characteristic. So, you know what? For example, if you look at conflict, I don't really like conflict. I mean, I'd rather not be in that situation. But what that's taught me, but admitting that has taught me that, you know what? Okay, so try empathy and try listening and try seeing the other person's point of view. And when you do that, and listen with an open mind and an open heart, and when you do that, conflict has a way of just naturally de-escalating into a conversation, a potentially mutually beneficial conversation, right? So, I mean, that's kind of a huge insight that I never would have had if I continued to drink. So, again, as time passes, and if I was maintaining while I was drinking, and now I'm on a significant upward trajectory in pretty much all areas of my life, the more time that passes, the bigger that gap is going to get. So when I look back on it and I think, oh my God, I'm here, and if I continued drinking, I would have been way down there. Yeah, it's really, really bad. I look at it really bad. So sometimes I get concerned, like, am I remembering it worse than it was? So I can make myself feel better about where I am right now. But I don't think that's it. I think that it's just that, again, I know that if I had continued to drink, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And I'm doing so many more things that I'm passionate about than I am today. I'm connecting with more people. I'm helping more people. I didn't know that I love to write. I've spoken to groups of people that I never would have spoken to before and done a better job of it than I would have ever had if I had had the opportunity to begin with. I've, gotten fitter. I've gotten more spiritual. I've become a better father. I've become a better husband. And at the end of the day, none of the fears that I had created in my head about being sober came true. None of them. Some different things happened that I'll talk about, but yeah, none of them came true. My friends still like me. Turns out I am totally able to socialize, with people. I like being around people when I'm not drunk. All those things. And there's a hell of a lot of other things that not waking up and going, oh my God, what did I say the night before? Going through my email, pissing the bed. Now, that doesn't happen, right? That's a good thing. Trying to rationalize pissing the bed, not so easy to do. Although I did manage to do it, but it's destroys your soul, for sure. So, yeah, it's amazing. And I look at my relationship with my wife. It's so much better. And I used to say, like, okay, was it good before? Yeah, it was good. But again, compared to what? It wasn't really that, it was wonderful, but it wasn't nearly as wonderful as it is right now. I mean, I'm not actively, consciously choosing to do things that make her worry. Like, at the end of the day, love is a verb. It's something you do. And if you're consciously making the choice to do something that causes your spouse, the person that you are supposed to love more than anybody else in the whole world, if you're consciously making the choice to do things that cause her fear and worry and anxiety, are you loving her? Not so much. So I don't do that anymore, and we talk about different things now. We talk about our hopes and dreams, and we talk, I guess we did then, but it's different. It's deeper. The connection is deeper. One of the reasons the connection is deeper, or these conversations that are better, is because I'm sober when we talk about them. So drinking has a way of making everything superficial. Like, you're not having deep, meaningful, spiritual conversations with people when you're liquored up. You're having, sometimes you can have good conversations, I guess, but they're not the same. They're not even close to the same. And so, yeah, our relationship is better. I'm calmer. I am a more caring husband, and I'm a more caring person. I'm not perfect, not even close, but I've changed in a way that feels really, really good to me. And it's taught me, being sober has taught me to think in terms of abundance and possibilities instead of scarcity. When I was drinking, I thought in terms of scarcity. I thought about, for example, things like, I focused on all the things I would have to give up if I quit drinking and all the fears and all that kind of stuff. But I also focused on judging other people. So instead of looking at the abundance and the possibilities all around me, I really spent a lot of time judging people. I know now that what I was doing was I was like projecting, or whatever the psychological word was. I was judging myself, even though I did not admit it to myself. In my heart, I knew it. But what I was doing was I was at some level recognizing that I was doing things that were preventing me from raising myself up. So it was a lot easier to tear other people down. And God, I don't do that anymore. And my relationships with people are just so much better. They're so much more positive, and they're mutually beneficial. And yeah, I mean, so imagine when you replace, so that's what I talk, when I say scarcity, that's scarcity, right? That's not seeing how I can work with myself and work with the people closest to me and connect with other people to create unlimited possibilities. And that's what I see now, because quitting drinking was one of the main things that made me realize, okay, wait a minute, anything is possible. If I manage to quit drinking, oh my God, anything is possible. I've said this a million times, and I'm going to keep saying it because it's one of those things that is it's so important, right? So then I think, okay, I can actually do anything, because this is the thing that I had given up, absolutely given up being able to quit, right? Until I just quit somehow. So yeah, I mean, now I see things in terms of, my wife and I talk about things like, what would this create, or what would that create, or, we think in terms of like, really anything around us is possible. And when we actually take the time in a nice sober state to look around, you see them. You see possibilities everywhere. I understand that, the path to greatness, or the path to self-realization, or the path to peace is a path of being of service to other people. You're not gonna be of service to other people when you're shit-faced, as if you're only being of service to your selfish, self-centered self. And you're not even being of service, you're being destructive. But you are totally focused on you. Right? So when you remove that barrier that is sort of blocking you from interacting with the world in a real and meaningful way, when you remove that, wow, it is like opening your entire mind and body to possibilities that just you weren't able, like I wasn't able to see before, right? So think about that, like just the fact that I am talking about this stuff was not. If I heard somebody talk about this stuff while I was drinking, I would have thought they were an idiot. I would have immediately judged them as being, I don't know, new agey or off the rocker or whatever. But I've been in both places, and this place is much, much better. And again, I'm not speaking for you. I'm just speaking for me and my experience. But I think that my experience probably is directly applicable to people that are drinking, in a way that they don't feel good about. And I'm not telling you to stop drinking, right? Lots of people drink. They're okay with it. It's a moderate aspect of their life. They have reasons for doing it. That's cool. That's your choice. I'm just telling you my experience. My choices, the choices that I was making were not cool. I'm also a better father. I'm also I've learned a huge life lesson, and I've overcome something that I never thought I'd be able to overcome. So from a dad, wow, what a great opportunity to think about and analyze and extract the lessons from that and what I've learned from it, and what I've learned as time passes, and pass that along to my kids. I've had these conversations, with my kids. I mean, I don't go into great detail, but my 12-year-old, she's old enough to understand, and it's a good lesson. Instead of saying to a kid that's going to be a teenager, "Don't drink, you'll go to hell," I can say, like, I chose to drink, and there's a lot of contributing factors, and I talk about those things too, and why I did it. Like, it doesn't make me a bad person, and there's nothing I can do to change the past, but I can tell her, I chose to drink too much, and here's what happened. Not beating around the bush or sugarcoating it or judging it, or just here's what happened to me, and here's what happened since I stopped. And stopping is, for me personally, has been a life and world changing decision. So that's a pretty good conversation to be able to have with a kid who's going to be entering those years when they find themselves exposed to increasing pressure to drink and do drugs and all that kind of stuff, right? So so that experience and my ability to communicate it in an authentic and real way, and to talk about the things that I was scared of about quitting drinking, and how I realized that, again, the fears were made up. Like, to be able to have that dialogue with a kid, again, in an authentic way, from a place of real personal experience, and not telling them what to do. Not telling her what to do. I'm just telling her, here's what I went through, and use this information from a person that you trust deeply to inform your own choices that the choices you'll be faced with as you go through life. I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic about how that's going to go. I think that that's a pretty good resource for a kid to have. So, I look at all the things that I'm doing now, right? Like I've got the Book of Open, and I've got a book proposal submitted to a publisher that I'm going to hear back about any day. I mean, that wouldn't have happened. That never would have happened if I was continuing to drink. I'm not going to write a book about overcoming alcohol if I'm still drinking, unless I'm a total liar, I guess. But I never would have had the space to do that, because as soon as I was walking in the door from work, I was cracking a beer or more likely pouring a whiskey, and brain is turned off. Now I'm so passionate and into the things I'm doing, and like reveling in the realization that I, Jason McKenzie, just like everybody else, but I have the ability to actually make a huge impact, and I have the ability to change the world. Like, that's why I'm really, like, realizing that is so powerful. And that's why I guess I'm vigilant, but I'm so confident that I will never go back to drinking, because I know what I would give up. I know what I would give up. And it's not worth it. It is not worth it at all. I feel like I am now leading a life of significance. And that feels good. And it feels good it feels good to be a husband who's leading a life of significance. It feels good to be a father who's leading a life of significance. It feels good to be a friend and a son who's leading a life of significance. So I don't want to give that up. And that's what sobriety has given me. It's given me all of that. And I often wonder, what would I have done differently if I could have seen this, when I was still drinking? I mean, and felt what it feels like, and really understood it. I wonder if I would have stopped drinking sooner. I think I might have. I mean, if I could have really, really, truly understood how awesome it was, or had somebody sit down and explain it to me. And that's why I want to do this, is to just say it is amazing. You actually, all the things that you think you have to give up, you don't. Yeah, you got to give up booze, I guess, but you get back so much more, like 1,000-fold, 10,000-fold. And it just, I get so excited about it, but I've been in that place. I've been in both places, and I understand completely the thinking and the rationalizing and the justifying and the guilt and the shame and all of that stuff. I get it. And I lived it, right, for a long time. And but now I see the other side of it, and wow, it is wonderful. And I guess that's really all I have to say about it. I hope I've painted a picture of the abundance that awaits all of us when we choose to think in terms of possibilities instead of thinking in terms of constraints, and when we love ourselves instead of judging ourselves and judging other people, or when we look to the future, by learning from the past instead of feeling guilt and shame and regret for things that we've done and we can't change. It's crazy. Just it's not worth it, and that's what can await you, if you decide. And it really is a choice. Sometimes I think we feel powerless. I know I certainly did many, 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 many times, but we're not. All the power we need within us. All we need to do is really, truly understand what our lives can be and what we can create for ourselves and other people. So if you want to talk about this more, or with me, please feel free to email me at jason@thebookofopen.com. And I'll be happy to talk to you, because it's something I'm really passionate about, and I just know there's people, millions and millions of people, that are suffering in the same place that I was. And if there's something I can do to help, I want to. I want to do that, because I feel like I just have to spread the message. So again, Jason at thebookofopen.com. The website is thebookofopen.com. Or on Twitter, you could reach out to me at LeMonkDeFunk. And I hope that this has been not too rambly. It is a stream of consciousness video, but I hope it's been of value, and I hope it helps you, and I hope maybe it, gives you something to think about. So it's Thursday before Easter, so have a wonderful Easter holiday and a wonderful long weekend. And that's it. Take care.